Coffee and Conversation. My name is Honorine, and today I'm with Maicon Landim, who is pursuing, actually, who just graduated with a PhD in Biomedical Science. Congratulations, Dr. Landim.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for being with me today and taking this time for this interview.
Of course. I appreciate you inviting me for this.
Let's start with a little introduction.
Okay, so what can I say about me? I was born in Brazil in a small town in the state of Rio de Janeiro called Barra Mansa. And I grew up actually in a farm area, so it's very cool. It's always surrounded by animals. I was living in the city, but my family owns a farm, so I could travel weekly to the place, spend summertime, winter breaks in the farm. So I love animals. Cow is my favorite animal. I have many cows in my office, as you can see.
Oh,
All
so
my
cute.
decorations are cow related. Um, and then I went to school in Rio, got my major in biomedical science, and I started doing research with heart diseases. Um, then I got a fellowship called Science Without Borders, and I could study abroad for a year. And I chose to come to FSU because there's a amazing lab here at the College of Medicine, and I could do research with Dr. José Pinto. He's Brazilian, also from Rio. And I came here for a year. I spent a good amount of time in lab. I did not know English at all when I came here. I learned English in lab with my classmates. I didn't take any English courses here at FSU. So all my English comes from my lab mates being very patient and, repeating things 7 times. So they taught me English and how to do science here as well. Um, then I moved back to Brazil to finish my graduate studies, or my undergraduate studies actually. Got my major in biomedical science and moved to Tallahassee for my PhD with Dr. Pinto. And I recently graduated, and now I'm staying here for a few more years as a postdoc, but now under supervision of someone else. His name is Steven Chow. Very nice lab, very nice group as well. And more personally, I am obsessed with Blackpink. It's a K-pop girl group from Korea, South Korea. Um, yeah, I'm obsessed with them. I love Blackpink. Their music videos, everything about them. I'm obsessed with it. That's it.
That's so fun. How did you get into K-pop?
Well, during COVID, I was just at home watch YouTube videos. I like watching like vocal coach reactions. And I saw this vocal coach reacting to this K-pop group who had recently performed at Coachella. So I was just watching the video. I really liked the song, and I started to Google more about K-pop and specifically this group. And I was like, wow, I really like the outfits in the music video, their songs, the rhythm, how they look, like everything about them, their dance move.
That's awesome. So are you learning Korean? No.
No, I think the English took all the space in my brain, so I don't think I have space for any other new languages. I would love to learn French, for example, but I just don't have the energy to learn a new language. I think English took a lot of effort for me to learn.
And I feel like also your degree. So let's talk about that degree in biomedical science. So you study the heart, right? Because you got
Yes,
the American Heart Association pre-doctoral fellowship. Um,
yes.
so what do you study about the heart?
So I study rare diseases in the heart, specifically mutations in a protein called troponin. It's not one of the main causes of cardiomyopathies, which is the disease of the heart. It affects um, fewer people than, for example, cancer and other things like that. The mutation that I'm specifically talking about affects just a small part of the population, but I think it's worth studying. Because if there's one person with a condition, it's worth study, right? Because we're here to save everyone. Doesn't matter if it affects 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people, or one person. So I study mutations in troponin, and our goal is to help understand how this mutation is causing those diseases, and we're trying to help these people to have a better life. Because currently there's no treatment for heart diseases. We can treat the symptoms, but we cannot treat the actual cause, especially if it is congenital. So you're born with it. So we cannot change your DNA, but we can alleviate the symptoms. So the goal is to help improving the quality of life of these patients by understanding how those mutations can affect the heart.
And does your research look at specific patients that you've been following for many years and that you are still following today?
So sometimes we don't receive any biopsies, we just receive the information.
So is it better to get the biopsy or both are actually good enough?
Well, that's a good question. I think I would not like to receive biopsy because that means that the person, is suffering or even passed. So, and it's better if I just receive the information and the person is alive and you're trying to help. But if I have to choose between having a human sample and trying to figure out using a scientific tool how to study and have the model, I think having the tissue from the patient helps a lot because um yeah, it's just better if you have the tissue. Yeah.
So you are currently doing research in a different lab, but you had been working with your previous supervisor for many years. Um,
Yes.
why did you change?
So once I graduate, because I want to be an academic professor, I want to stay in academia. So it's highly recommended that you go outside your comfort zone and explore a new field, learn new techniques, make new collaborations, experience, put yourself out there. So staying in FSU will be great for me, but I'm used to the techniques in my lab with my group, so I need to expand my knowledge personally and also professionally. But I'm still at FSU, but now in a different lab. So I'm learning new techniques. I'm learning about new diseases, working with new collaborators, being exposed to something new. So that helps a lot in my future applications for grants and stuff.
So the next step after your postdoc is to apply for grants, or you're already applying for grants?
I haven't applied yet just because I just started, so I'm still collecting preliminary data so I can write a proposal and hopefully in the next year I can apply for the American Heart Association for a postdoctoral fellowship
Okay.
because I don't have a green card, so I'm very narrow to only few institutions allow people without green card or any other kind of permanent residency to apply. I don't think NIH allows people to apply if you don't have a green card at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, as an international student, there is always this idea that, oh, there is no grant for us or not enough grants for us. But
No, there are institutions funding international students, and American Heart Association is one of them.
so what would be your advices for international students who needs funding? I mean, like every student. um,
Mhm.
what makes you a stronger candidate when they accept, international and national students? How do you make yourself more competitive?
Um, we have to write a very complex proposal in 5 pages only, right? So there's a lot of information that you want to put out there in your proposal, but we can't because we're specifically limited to 5 pages. So my advice number one is make your scientific writing as clear as possible because the reviewers, they don't have hours of their time to read and read again. They would try to read your application when they're at home after work. Sometimes they're tired. So you have to be very clear on what you're saying. Make sure that you are also highlighting points. Don't be afraid to put bold sentences or like underline the sentences that will, especially in the major points, because that will catch the attention. So I think that makes your proposal strong. Of course, you need to have like a good resume. Having publications help a lot, specifically in the medical field, research field. If you have um, the more publications, the better. But I think publications, a very clear proposal is very important, because you can have the best project, but if you don't know how to deliver the message to the audience, you know, that the person who's reading, they might not fund it because they are not understanding. So be very clear and direct. And recommend the letter of recommendation, trying to choose people that actually know you. I think it's better because sometimes I'm going to ask for the chair of my department or the director of this department to give you a letter, but they don't know you that well. So maybe having a letter from someone that is not a director, it's actually stronger because they know you. So they will write good things about you and the right things about you.
So you talked about publications. On your grad impact profile, you said that you had 16 publications. Maybe
Yeah,
there's more by now. How did you manage to publish so much?
I think this my secret was one, a very collaborative environment, because when you work with many people, the chances of you being in their publications is higher. But during my training years here in Pinto Lab, I was able to learn how to use this one specific machine. Um, it's a very powerful technique in the muscle field that we can study the function of the muscle. So other labs outside our group, they were interested in the results coming from this machine. And since I was the one responsible for it, they were asking me to do. So I was able to be in many collaborative projects because I was able to become an expert in this equipment. And again, since it's a very powerful tool, all the labs are coming and asking for help, and then I'll end up being their publications. So if you know a technique that is powerful and not many people want to work with it because sometimes it's too hard, like maybe that's actually a good thing because they can ask for your help because they don't know anyone else that could help them, you know? So that was what helped me a lot.
Good. That's a good
Yeah.
tip. Become
Yeah.
an
And I publish things on outside the heart field because you can also do skeletal muscle. You can also do invertebrate muscle. I've done experiments with muscle from the mouth of ants.
ants. I didn't even know ants had mouth.
Yeah. So I had a collaboration with the biology department with one of our collaborators. So I was able to run some experiments in our setup. So you're not restricted to the heart only. You know, you can apply your knowledge to animals of different sizes, including ants, and other types of muscle in the body. So that helps the publication. Yeah.
Okay. Well, congratulations. That's a lot of publication.
Thank you.
Where did you want to stay in academia and not become a doctor or more on the practice side of the heart?
Mm, I really like the research because there's so many things that we don't know. I like the puzzle. I like the unknown. So there's always something new. There's always been new technologies to be applied. And I really like the basic research when you're trying to understand the body, how it works. And then I like to see when there's like some challenging, when there's something new, a new mutation, what's the mechanism of disease, how this mutation is leading to disease. So I think that's what I like the most about being a researcher is we don't know about it. And once you figure something out, there's other questions, you know. So you close one book one chapter, many others open based on that. So I like that. And the freedom of doing, you know, the intellectual freedom, I like that as well, that you can plan your own experiments. You don't have like an industry that you don't have much freedom. There's many layers. So sometimes if you want to do something, you have to ask permission in many layers and then get the approval. And here I can just do, I have, of course, my mentors, but it's much easier to have intellectual freedom and do all the experiments that you want to do compared to industry. And of course, I love teaching. I had the opportunity of teaching a few times, and I like that a lot.
So besides listening to K-pop, what do you like to do on your spare time when you're not in the lab?
I like playing volleyball. Yeah, when I was a teenager, I used to play volleyball a lot with my friends. And then I was able to actually play in a pretty nice team, and we were competing, against schools. So that was really nice. But then in college, unfortunately, things got too crazy, and I was not able to um, play as much. But now I can actually manage my time a little better, work balance. But yeah, I do like playing volleyball.
And my last questions, where do you see yourself in 5 years from today?
Ooh, I see myself in a office full of cow decorations with a little plate outside my door, like Professor Maicon Landim. I think that's how I see myself. I hope that in 5 years I will get a professor position somewhere so I can have, like classroom, cow decorated for sure. There'll be cows everywhere. Um, yeah, so I see myself in academic position.
All right. Well, thank you so much for this interview. It was so much fun. I
Of
do hope
course.
that in 5 years you have your little cow in your garden.
I hope so too. Fingers crossed.
And yes, good luck with everything.
Of course. Thank you so much for the interview. It was fun. Thank you.